shining on a gravel road. Whispers in the dark are speaking low. Got my old boots on and I'm feeling brave, but there's all kinds of spooky shit I gotta say. Rusty gates creak like a ghostly sigh. Shadows dance beneath the midnight sky. You can feel it in your bones when the night grows cold. Stories of the haunted just never get old. There's all kinds of spooky shit out there, from shadows in the trees to the chill in the air. Old legends walk with the spirits of the night. In the back of my mind, yeah, I can feel the fright. Got my lantern lit, gonna chase them away. But there's all kinds of spooky shit and it's here to stay. Crossroads at midnight where the lost souls meet. You can hear them laugh and feel the cold defeat. Whispers of the past, they echo in my mind. Every step I take, I'm leaving comfort behind. Creaking floorboards in this old cabin of mine. Stories of lost lovers and a glass of wine. I hear a howl, could it be the wolves or just my heart racing, trying to solve the clues? There's all kinds of spooky shit out there, from shadows in the trees to the chill in the air. Old legends walk with the spirits of the night. In the back of my mind, yeah, I can feel the fright. Got my lantern lit, gonna chase them away. But there's all kinds of spooky shit and it's here to stay. The wind starts howling, the branches sway. Something's lurking just a stone's throw away. In the corner of my eye I see a flickering light. Could it be a ghost or just my own fright? A mist rolls in, covering the ground. I take a deep breath and I look around, but every rustle just brings me back to stories told at dusk and the things that I lack. So if you walk these woods, keep your senses keen. Listen to the whispers, know what they mean. There's magic in the darkness, secrets in the trees, and every haunted shadow carries memories. They say every ghost has a tale to tell of loves lost and found, and living in hell, embrace the fright, 'cause it's part of the deal. Life's too short to run from what you feel. So raise a glass to the chills and the thrills, to the stories that haunt us and the time that it kills. The night is alive and I'll not look back, 'cause there's all kind of spooky shit and I'm on the right track.
That's right. There is all kinds of spooky shit out there. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. I hope you're not running into any spooky stuff out there. You have any spooky stuff today? How about this week? I've had a very spooky week, but it had nothing to do with haints and boogers, as Steve would put it. You know, just regular human life stuff, and I'm sure you guys are going through it too. So that's why we play a little music ahead. I don't know what kind of day you had, so if you're going to come in and talk about some spooky stuff or stuff that might hear us talking about it, it helps to have that barrier up, a little laughter, a little light. How's everybody doing tonight? Welcome in, gatekeepers. I see a lot of different names. I see some old friends joining us again. I see some family coming in here as every Sunday and Monday night, and on Tuesdays on our movie night. And it's good to see you guys. It's really good to see you guys. So I was just talking to Brian Bowden on the phone. He's out there at the Gettysburg Bash. So I want to say hi to everybody out there. I did not get to go this year because we've got some other stuff going out that way in a couple of weeks. I couldn't do it twice. So all my love to everybody out there. I hope you had a wonderful, safe time. I know there was a lot of children helped by everybody that came out there. I know there's a lot of wounded vets that were helped out there too. It is a charity event. It is put on by people of the metaphysical, paranormal, supernatural ilk, the genre, the world. And it's a wonderful thing when people, you know, you just have, a little interest in common, and you want to come together and give something back to people that can't help themselves or need a little extra help. And I think that's wonderful. It's always a wonderful time. And I'm sorry I missed all my friends this year, but hopefully I'll get to see some of y'all in a couple weeks, and we'll see what happens there. But here's the thing, what I meant to say when I first came in: no matter what kind of day or week you had, you want to come in here, and we want to kind of touch base on a little knowledge. We talk about little ghosts, little cryptid, little dogmen, little shadow people, whatever it may be. Tonight it's portals, and some of the do's and don'ts, and what the hex of the world portals and stuff. But there could be some scary stuff there. People go missing. I can't imagine anything scarier than just walking along, winding up someplace, some other world, just because you took a step, or something pulls you in, a lot of good stories about that. Steve and I have had a lot of conversations, but tonight I wanted to bring in somebody. This was actually her idea. I talked to her this morning, and sometimes we don't even know what we're going to do till the morning of, for shows. People have to shift times or change dates or whatever, and we just go with the flow. We're going to be talking about tonight, I guess, what we're supposed to be talking about. And I'm so honored to have back again our friend of the show, wonderful soul of light, and so many different abilities. And I think it's wonderful. People might have a similar ability, but we use it different because it's coming from us. So it has our chemistry on it, and our DNA, and our thoughts, and our memories, and our heart and intent and soul and vibration. And it's always different. And I love to get different people's ideas on, might be the same thing. So we might have talked about portals before, but I guarantee something's going to come up tonight that didn't come up in another episode, or even in another show you might have seen, or in a book you might have read. It's not something that I would say that I'm fluent in. I know a little bit about this and a little bit about that, or have theories about it, because none of us really know. But I just think it's really neat when we can reach out to friends and say, come on in here and tell me what you think about it. So, Michelle, you come in here and you tell me what you think about it, sweetheart. And welcome in. Welcome through the gate.
Hi, welcome.
Hi, sweetheart. Have you moved again? You're just, you remind me of one of those little, when you have a dandelion, and you get the fuzzies on the dandelion, and you can blow it, and you make a wish and you blow them into you're like just one of and you just bloom wherever you're planted. I just love that. I think we're all kind of that way, blowing in the we all just bloom where we're planted, don't we, girl? Welcome in. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here for sure. I'm so excited to be talking about this. Portals are very, very interesting to me, and I know you have a lot of cool information. So, heck yeah.
Yeah, we got a little bit. So you could tell it if you want, but here's how it went down. I sent her a text and I said, look, girl, I don't have a clue what day it is. I'm not even sure I can tell you what month it is after the week I just had. So are we supposed to look? I had a show with it. Just tell me, do you want to come on? It's like, and if you do, what do you want to talk about? And you came up with it, and I was thinking, well, man, I'll tell you what. I hope because like I said, you're going to have to take this show, because I know a little bit here, a little bit there, and have some stories. So I did some slides, and I've got a couple of different stories in what I thought was each aspect of this. Now, when you're talking about portals, if you're ready, bring in to me and tell the chat here, where are you at with it? Because you have this whole other world available to you and your abilities. You're not just an investigator. You're not just a psychic medium. You see what I mean? You have so many other branches out there, and knowledge and data. So please tell us give us kind of an overview of portals and how you see them and what you think they are, if you're ready to do that.
Yes, I'd love to. So actually, my interest grew in them. I've always been interested in them, but my interest grew when I was working through Parachills, when they had just first started globally. And I was given the task or assignment for the Stanley House in Colorado. So, as I was doing the investigation part psychically and remote as using remote viewing as well, there were a lot of interesting things that kept coming through because at the Stanley House, one of the I don't really want to say complaints, but one of the experiences that a lot of people talk about are one of them is there is a lady that they frequently see on the stairway. And so I did find through remote viewing, there's actually a portal there because there's also been talk when I interviewed different people that had actually visited the Stanley House to go there, some to investigate, others not. But some did, actually get footage. And so
And
when I
you
was
felt this. So when you went there, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I want to understand how you perceive it. So when you went there, you felt it. You went there remote viewing, and you
Mhm.
felt that there was a portal there. Now, was it because it was? You said it was like under the stairs.
No, it was actually above it. I saw it.
Okay. Okay. So is it something that in this case, was it something that you felt opened up because of the area it was in, like ley lines or something else, or was it something that people caused?
Well, here's the interesting thing. So in addition, before I answer that, because you'll need
Go
to
ahead.
know this, um, there was also through remote viewing, there was a massive portal outside of the
Okay.
Stanley House above the mountain. So I investigated deeper. So I was, trying to figure out, okay, what is causing these? Is it because of someone? Is it something natural? So I began talking to the historian, different people um, in that town. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And one thing that I found out that was very interesting was that mountain is full of quartz crystal. Full,
Okay.
full.
Yeah.
Um, and I was told by, the officials that actually, are from there and live
Hmm.
there, that there's so much that it's just an incredible amount of quartz. So I've also found because I scry quartz crystals. Yes, yes.
I mean, this is what
Mm,
she's talking about for anybody that doesn't know. And welcome everybody in the chat. We will say hello, and I'm starring all these questions. I'm not forgetting you, but I wanted to show. So if you've got a lot of this, whether it's crystal skulls, whether they're using it in computers for to encapsulate. I'm not going to use the right words because again, but hold memories and hold all of this stone tape theory is what you're
yeah,
saying. Go ahead. I just
yeah,
wanted visuals.
that's perfect. And so what I found out was because of course I didn't stop there because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing because I scry crystals, so that I was actually even more enveloped in that. So um, I began asking more people. I was like, okay, so the crystals, are there any that are actually exposed to the sun? Because we
Oh,
know, if we have crystals, we need to cleanse them and keep them charged by the sun, right? For them to do.
exactly. So smart. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So yes, the answer was yes. There are massive, huge amounts above ground that are constantly being hit with the sun.
Yep.
So it's just my theory. It's just my thought, my feelings because of the things I saw within remote viewing and getting from so many of other lovely people. Um, I feel like what's happening here is it's the actual quartz, the strength, the power within the quartz themselves, especially the ones that are out and visible, where the
Right.
sun they're direct
Cleanse
charge.
with the sun and get all that charge and everything else. Wow. Okay. Now let
Yes.
me ask you this. Now you said the Stanley. Now where is this located?
It's in Colorado. Yes, yes.
Okay.
It's a
And
very it's a old. I believe it. I forget the date. It's been a few years now. It's like I think it was like in the 1800s, late 1800s.
hmm
It was a motel.
hmm
and it is a motel today, but it's mainly like for a haunted motel.
Hmm.
There were a lot of things that occurred
Oh, I'm sure.
in addition to, what we're talking about.
Right, and all that's going to bounce around, and I think it's wonderful that you brought this
Mhm.
up, and especially with the Courts of the Crystal, because there's so much to do with this, whether it's ley lines and the crossing of ley lines, what's in the earth, what happened on the earth. It could be as simple as two mirrors facing each other, folks. You know what I mean? Because that's what happened to me at one of the bashes I went to several years ago. Remember, I was telling you the story about going down the hallway, and everybody said that I get such a feeling down this hallway when you guys get time and everything gets quiet. I want you to go down the hallway and see what's going on, what you pick up. And I walked down the hallway, and Michelle, I promise you, if you've ever gone in one of these big, beautiful hotels and you see how large these mirrors are, and they're big mirrors with these big gilded frames, these gold gilded frames, they're gorgeous, but they're going down a hallway. And as long as you can remember, now imagine a hallway that looks similar to in The Shining with the two little girls standing in front of the elevator, that long hallway, or the kids riding the big wheel down the hall, how long that hallway is. This is what it looks like, but there's a mirror on the wall that is almost the size of the wall, but it's in a frame, like I said. And then across the hall is another mirror. And then down another mirror. So literally they were zigzagging like this, Michelle, all the way down the hallway. At the end of the hall is a door where all of the staff comes out. This is where they're coming out of the busy kitchen. Imagine now they're coming out of a busy kitchen, bringing all those banquet trays and whatever they're running back and forth up that half of the hallway into this big banquet hall, and just all these mirrors, bing bang, and all that energy around. Just and everything that's happened in that hotel. And then you look out the other side of the wall that those mirrors are on is the battlefield of Gettysburg, where 53,000 people were killed in 3 days. And that's just one event on that property. So you can imagine the energy, bing, bang, zoom, like Ricochet Rabbit going down that hall constantly and feeding whatever needs to. And I'm going to ask you, do you think that it could be something as simple as two mirrors facing each other to create that kind of energy?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good. I wanted to get that validated, whether you felt the same thing, because I think anybody is going to feel that walking down the center of that hall, because you're just absorbing all that bing bang boot right through you.
Yes.
Whatever is ricocheting off. So if there's a fight, if there's a, so I believe all these things are factors. Water. We've got what is the gate in Tibet, where it's supposed to be the major portal, where all in Peru they come and do you know what I'm talking about? There's things like that, right? There's maybe somebody in the chat. We've got wonderful people in the chat. Somebody will come up with it, but that's one of what I would consider a holy place. We've got them all over the place, but then you start thinking of places like Bermuda Triangle. That's almost like one big portal. It isn't really, but I think there's a couple in there, like maybe something with the pyramids under the water. There's something going on there, again, probably with energy and the type of materials around. So I think that's great. I want to say hi to everybody here. Welcome in. I think, are you simulcasting on your channel as well?
Yes, I am.
If not, please do. Okay, good. So welcome in everybody over here that's from Michelle's channel. Please welcome. If you're not subscribed, please hit the like. Please subscribe. You have your choice between YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble. But I highly recommend Rumble, because here's the deal. Rumble lets us play stuff that we don't get to play on the other channels. So we do get together to watch a movie. I think last week we did The Thing. And we watch them for different reasons. We might watch a ghost movie to try to learn from that, or we watch something else. And some of it's just for fun. But we have a blast over there. It's totally free. So jump over there on Rumble and follow us over there. Follow Michelle on her channels. In our description are all of Michelle's links to her shows, to her Cash App, to her to all the ways you can connect with Michelle. And they're all saying, I don't know if you can see the chat, sweetie. I'm trying to put them all up here, but everybody's welcoming you in, and just all this wonderful stuff. Look here we go here. They were all up in the beginning like crazy. I was putting them up while you were while you were talking, but everybody in here is just throwing you love and bacon, and they're loving me and they're loving all over you and everything else. Now we have a couple people in here. Scott was saying something I didn't know. Scott, I don't know if I can find that that comment that you put here that actually had, you said that the best video or something you had ever seen. Could you put the name of that YouTube channel up here again, Scott, if you would, if you're still in here? I think you're still in here, aren't you, honey? And because that's interesting. I'm interested. Hey, Lisa Ray, welcome, honey. And Bernice, I see you too, and everybody. I just love y'all.
Did you guys just hear Spirit talk through the camera?
Do what, sweetheart?
There was a spirit. I would go back probably about 1 minute.
Something's talking.
Yes, someone came.
Yeah. You're hearing something. Michelle's always hearing stuff on our conversations, and she'll go, there's a man in the back and he's laughing, and then somebody was answering your question. It's all kind of things happen when Michelle and I get together, so expect anything. Hey Henry, how you doing, sweetheart? And hey Woo, tell Journey I said happy birthday. Listen, it's Journey's Woo's daughter is a Journey, and she's 6 years old, and I think it was her birthday yesterday. So happy birthday, Journey. Throw her some bacon, throw her some love. And it was a beautiful cake, and it was a beautiful setup, and I hope that the hamburgers were just as good as that cake looked. And I'd like some, so put some in an envelope, send it my way. I love you, darling. So anyway, I forgot what the hell are we talking about? Oh, portals. So one of the wildest stories, I'll tell you this, I'm going to throw this in, and then what we'll do is we'll pull up our slides and we'll get a little structured and talk about the different kinds, and then we'll bring up, what we wanted to talk about. But one of the craziest ones was the one that I put in Cabin 22. Now in Cabin 22, Joe Parker, if you've ever heard the story, Joe Parker, now these are all made up people, but the stories are real, which is wild. So anyway, Joe Parker is trying to convince Dave Weaver, who doesn't know anything about Bigfoots. He doesn't know anything about Dogman. He's like, ghost what? And he sees all of it in one weekend because he goes to a haunted mountain during Halloween, and there is a fight between a tribe of Dogmen and a tribe of Bigfoot, and they're actually battling for territory. Who isn't these days, right? So anyhow, Joe Parker is trying to convince Dave Weaver that there are things out there in the woods we just don't know. And he was talking about, he had asked him about portals, and Joe told him a story. Joe Parker, who's a cop, and again, all made up people. Anyway, read the book. So Joe Parker is explaining to Dave about one time he was walking in the woods. Somebody had gone missing, and he was up there with, the police, with the sheriff and everybody looking, with the search team. And he's up there looking, he's going down this one trail, and he said he was walking, and all of a sudden everything got quiet. He said you couldn't even hear a cricket. You couldn't hear anything. And he was walking, and right in front of him, it almost looked like a heat, like you're on riding on the road and it's really hot. You see that heat wave coming up from the asphalt, in the distance. That's what it looked like to him. And he just stuck his hand. He knew to stop, but he was curious. So he went to stick his hand in, and his hand started going into it, but he couldn't see his hand anymore. And he said it felt cold, and it felt a little almost like cool Jello, kind of, but not as thick. And he was explaining how it felt, and he put his hand in, and he got it just about past his wrist, and he said, oh my God, what if something on the other side grabs my hand, pulls me in? So he pulled it right back out again. I know the guy that happened to. I know the man that happened to. I put it in the book. So there are things out there that cannot be explained. And I do believe that sometimes they open up and then they open up someplace else. It doesn't have to be the same spot. But I believe the story that you were telling me, and again, these are just guesses because, I'm not very well versed in this, but what you were telling me is probably almost a permanent, more of it's always there kind of thing. Like it might have strong times and almost an undulating kind of thing. I doubt it's wide open all the time. But what do you think about that?
What I saw, I can only tell you what I saw.
Right.
And that was only during remote viewing. So, of course, it's not, all the time.
Right.
I did do several sessions of that. But again, it wasn't consistent. So what I can tell you is that each time that I did witness this during remote viewing, it was both of them were open. Now the large one that was outside, I literally saw different beings uh, traveling in and out, so into our dimension and leading through it, and they were from different dimensions. So there were some that were like actual extraterrestrial that I saw coming through, and there were some that were actual, they looked like humans that had passed away. So it wasn't just one dimension traveling through that portal.
Okay.
Now the one that was inside was only humans that I saw. Humans that
Interesting.
had, so
Interesting. Yeah,
exactly.
like so there's got to be some kind of it's coming from a different place. We can't assume that all portals are coming from the same place. Let's go ahead and state that. I think
Yes.
that's a true statement because the one that my friend put his hand through, he said it felt cold and it felt like just as I described, like thinner jello, like there was a definite, like almost a plasma kind of feel, so you have to wonder, is he taking something physical and going into a non-physical, or is he going into a physical? There's so many questions. And where do
Right.
you go? And some of these people with the Bermuda Triangle, we've done multiple shows here on Bermuda Triangle, but like those planes that get lost in wormholes and things like that. So I guess it all depends too on what you consider a portal.
Yes.
I consider a portal, and I think that's a good question to ask. And Vixen, I've got your question, honey. I actually have a slide coming up on that. I wanted you to know for sure that I didn't forget you. And thanks, Scott. I'm going to check that out. Okay, honey. I just want to catch those before I forget them because I'm terrible. Good evening. Hey, Sal. How you doing, honey? I haven't seen you in so long. Good to see you, darling. Howdy back. So I think it's important to say that I think there's a lot of different types of portals. We may be taking a broad brush and going over, but I would consider wormholes. I would consider the conductor that they've got at CERN that's creating one. I would consider when you're using a Ouija board or other things, doesn't have to be a Ouija board, you could open one. And then,
Yes.
that normal, that whole thing where you have to close it, you can't just leave. It's not about saying goodbye and getting permission and all that. It's about closing that door. You opened it, you have to close it, and you have to seal it good. I think that some just open up in different places, and they seem to have this thing with corners. You know what I mean? It must be something about the feel, you know what I mean, about coming from like the top corner of a room or the bottom corner of a room type of thing. That's why I asked you about under the stairs.
Oh my
But
gosh.
you said this one was above.
This
Like
was
you,
like
if you walked up the stairs, you would walk into it, or was it hovering?
it was hovering over. So like you go up the steps and then you come to a landing, where you're going to be kind of turning to go up the other direction.
Right.
It's right above that landing is where I saw it. And it was just really, really interesting to me, all this portal stuff, because it's like one thing led to another question and then another question. And it's
Right.
like, oh my God, what the heck? It's not just, because at first, before I had begun investigating the Stanley House, my view on portals was a little different. I guess it was more, I didn't have, and
Hey,
I just
Steph.
don't know what, but I didn't know as much prior to the Stanley House because I hadn't experienced it. So prior to, my version of portals were mainly man-made.
Mhm.
And did know that there were some, like the
Wow.
Bermuda Triangle and things like
Right.
that.
Right.
I didn't realize that there were so many more besides the main ones, like the one in Alaska that they talk about. There's
Yeah.
different.
I didn't realize there's so many daggum pyramids under everything. I
Okay,
had no
well,
idea that there's all these pyramids under all these different places we never hear about. And it seems that when you have those, you've got some type of a portal. You've got disappearing people, you've got disappearing airplanes or boats or whatever it may be, some kind of problem going on. I think that's so interesting because then again, when you talk about, like, say, a more famous one, like say Skinwalker Ranch, and the descriptions. Now, say what you want to say about that. I don't know much about the show. I think I watched 10 minutes of it. It bored me. I shut it off. That's just, one way or the other. The original investigation by George Knapp, and I thought that was very good. And the descriptions back then of what was going on in that ranch, they would be going about their business, and all of a sudden they would see something like right in the sky, not even in the horizon, like right in the sky in front of them would be something like a light, like a zipper of light. Great description, right? A zipper of light. And then this light seems to separate, much like a zipper would open up. And all of a sudden, this dog man looking creature steps out of the hole that was created by this zipper of light. You could almost see, like, through the sliver of this opening, that there was something else on the other side. It wasn't just blackness or anything. There was something back there. And this thing stepped out of this rip in our atmosphere, whatever you want to call it, and just kind of looked around and then just took off and disappeared. What the heck is that? And then it just closes back up, zips back up, and takes off. So when people say to me, people that try to, especially people that deserve it, they come up and they go, no Bigfoot, you can't have never found the body. You know what I mean? It's like, show me a body, those kind of people. And I go, well, show me a body of a bear, show me one of those. Not a lot of those I see either. But I think they pull them back through the portals. I think they're spiritual beings, Michelle.
Yes, that is
spiritual beings. They're half here and half there. I've been told that all my life by my native elders and my, the people in my family. They would say, my grandmother, don't speak of things in the woods, because if they hear you, you don't want them to hear you. You don't want to get their attention, kind of thing. And then one time she said, well, I don't want you to be scared, but I don't want them to take you with them. What the hell does that mean?
Right.
I'm like 7. Explain, but nothing. You get little snippets and then they drop it, know, and then you're like, excuse me, what? So I mean,
so I make a comment on that because, see what the way I feel about it, because I have actually, when I was going through the awakening, and I know how this is going to sound. People can take it or leave it, but I know what I experienced.
Mm-hmm.
And I was laying in my bed, I was bedfast from an accident, and I was laying there, and I literally saw a Sasquatch like in a holograph coming through, like it was coming through a portal into my room, and stood at the foot of my bed. Now, my ceilings at that time were like 9 feet tall. So the hologram of this being was basically that. It was approximately 9 foot tall, and it didn't speak to me, but it looked and talked to me, using telekinesis.
Mm-hmm.
And it was explaining to me a lot of different reasons. And yes, I was in shock, but at the same time, I had already started experiencing extraterrestrial encounters and things. So
right, you just kind of take it in. It's almost, I don't think it's, I don't know if I hear people say that. I don't mean to interrupt you, but it's such an important point. I don't think it's shock. I think it's like paranormal stupor. It's like paranormal processing. You're literally standing there running it through your filters going, what am I looking at? Your brain is trying to process it. Your abilities are trying to process your filters, your heart, your soul, your physical brain, your DNA memory. It's really running through all of that. I find every time I have an experience, same thing. When I met my Bigfoot, mine was a little foot, but same, telepathic, the whole shebang. Felt him before he showed up. Oh, please. Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that was so important to get that in there, that little piece. Go ahead, baby.
Okay. So the experience that I had, it taught me different things, different perspectives. So for one, this being came to me as a hologram, looked really close to being in physical form as we are.
That is what it's like. That's a great way to describe it.
So when people say, we've never been able to catch one, and, we see glimpses. So to me, that could definitely be one of the situations there that it's a hologram. Another, though, I do know that they do come in the physical as well because of some things that the being was explaining to me. And basically, in a nutshell, it was letting me know to tell humanity that they're not coming here to harm. Now they will stand up. Okay, they will roar, they will chase, they will do
Oh, you bet they
anything
will.
to keep you away. But they don't want to hurt people. But the reason that they do these things is because it's no different than, we have our YouTube channels and people come hunt us down. People hunt us down and we're not even bothering them. And they just want to come and make nasty comments and just attack. It's
Yep.
no different.
Yeah,
It's
it's true.
absolutely
It's
different.
true. And they've been here
for
for forever. I mean, there's every native tribe, tribal, whether global, has got stories, and what you said there also very important. And what I think now, again, this is just a theory. This is just my theory based on, now it could change next week, but what I feel right now is that there's multiple different types. We, again, like ghosts, we can't put them all in the same thing, but we have similarities. And I believe over time that these were beings that were either, half here, half there, like I was told, we're half in the spiritual world, half in the, that kind of thing, which translated over time to me that sometimes they're physical, sometimes they're not. And you've got a non-physical being trying to come in, just like ghosts trying to come in the physical. But over time, I believe either they started here and went that way through the portals or through the dimensions, however you want to put it, the spiritual veil, and some stayed. And some keeps going back and forth. And the ones that go back and forth through the dimensions seem to be much more aggressive, much more protective, and kind of like the black ops of the big feet. You know what I'm saying? The super soldiers of the Bigfoot clan. And they tend to stay more in the other side, wherever the other side may be. But they seem to come here if there's help needed or something along those lines. And then you've got your different packs of them, but most of them are very, docile nature, whatever. It's like any other group of animals. You don't see raccoons running around all day either. They come out at night. You don't see this, that kind of thing. But I believe they're more human qualities than what we give them credit for. And they're definitely telepathic. They're definitely have this same type of dogman thing where when they're angry, their eyes change, the energy shows in their eyes. They can see lasers. So like if you have a situation where you have a trail cam and it's triggered by a laser, they know that. And I think they have the ability, which is why we get a lot of fuzzy pictures, to go out of the physical. You see what I mean?
Yeah,
kind of like Predator. Do you know what I mean? But with them, I think it's less of a camouflage thing than an actual transformation of their molecular structure. I think that they have that ability. I really do. And the reason we don't see bodies is I think the other ones come through and pull them right back through the portal and take them where they need to go. Because there's some here decide to stay and just, try to make it here. You know what I'm saying? And keep it going. I just think they're very nomadic like that, just like, say, the Navajo were, or the Sioux, Apache. They moved with, certain ones followed the buffalo or followed the weather or migrated for whatever reasons. But I think that really explains a lot of that. I don't think all the cryptids are that way, but I do think that some of the dogmen and some of the Bigfoot have that ability. What do you think about that? That's a lot to throw on your plate, but where are you there?
Totally fine. Well, I really feel like speaking with the species that came to me. What
And
I can
yours was
say,
again, I'm sorry, yours was again very much Bigfoot type. Is this the species you're talking about? It was a very much of a Bigfoot situation. You would think?
yes,
Okay.
it was Sasquatch,
Okay.
but it came to me in hologram.
Okay.
Now, and the interesting thing, though, going with what you're talking about, it was letting me know that the reason that they're here, the main reason is to bring balance, to protect nature itself.
Totally
Because
believe that. Totally believe it.
it's like they're trying to keep the balance with, to make sure, there's so many diseases that, run rampant in nature itself,
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
the dimension. Well, that's another issue. So they're coming here. They're trying to keep, for us.
Yep. And we're the rotten
Um,
people trying to take them out. We just
yeah,
we always do that. We always destroy what's best for us. The weeds,
right,
the flower. We're just that way. We're terrible people.
right. And so what I say he, I felt it was a male.
Hmm.
What he was explaining is that, they carry disease themselves to us, and they can contract disease from us.
Hmm.
We
I
work
totally
both
believe that.
ways. So one reason, when like people are literally trying to hunt them, um, when they actually get chased and things like that, it is to scare them, to make them think they're going to be eaten, and really, really hurt bad. And there are times they will attempt attack, but at the same time, um, it's for humanity's sake. If you can think of the whole
Yeah,
picture,
totally
you
believe
have
it.
you have a few that say, "Oh, there's a Bigfoot. Let's go get him. Let's go hunt him down and
Oh,
kill him." Right?
because we're horrible
Okay.
people. Like I
Yes.
said,
So,
that's our first thing. We want to poke it with sticks. We're just.
right.
I don't understand. So why do you think they would be elusive?
So, well, because
Where are your questions? You know what I mean? Because if they're smart enough, if they're telepathic, if they know this, and again, Bigfoot, aliens, often seen together, UFOs, Bigfoot, everything is connected. Michelle and I are right on that right path with this. It's all connected. It's all energy. And as soon as you accept that, things become more easy to understand. But everything you're saying to me, Michelle, you could be describing any traditional native indigenous tribe, because every indigenous tribe, whether around the globe, whether you're talking about pygmies or name them around the globe, whether it's in the Congo, and somebody, if you have a village that tries to stick back to nature, and that if you went in and you talk to the Cherokee, the Lenape, the Navajo, the Iroquois, whatever, every single one of them is going to be living their lives like the Bigfoot would be doing, right? And the way you're describing this to me, what's here for us? What's here for us? Trees. Do trees not give us the oxygen we need to live? Do they not
yes.
cleanse it and filter it? And what do? We destroy them. We take them down. This kind of, we're very consumer. We're big consumers. We just go through and just destroy things. But we're getting smarter. And I think that if we didn't have things like the birds, who are really, balance of nature too. Everything is a balance of nature. If you didn't have the irritating ants that the birds ate the ants, and the cat, how the circle of life and this chain of wonderment that is nature, the grass, the different types of things that need to grow, the bees.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see where I'm coming from? So why wouldn't the Bigfoot be doing that? But they just have a little bit more mindful choice in the matter, that they're choosing to do this. I think
Yes.
that's wonderful. I love that thought. I love that
Yes.
thought. You want
And
to pull out
again,
some slides? You want to pull out some slides? Go ahead. You finish what you were saying, and I'm going to pull these up. Go ahead.
it's only the species that that came to me. And as Cisco said, who knows how many species there are,
Yep. Yep.
or do we even call them species? How many dimensions are
Yeah.
there?
How many different types? How many different attitudes? How many different, reasons? Because I guarantee every group of Bigfoot you bump into are going to go, yeah, you talk to the ones that hang out, in the grove at night, smoke cigars and talk about us. Like, did you see those crazy people today? Look what they're doing, that kind of thing, where they're just sick of us. They've just had enough of it. They just want to survive and they're done. They don't want to help us anymore. They're the ones that gather together and they got a little bit of that get off my grass attitude going on. And I don't blame them. But then you have the more docile type that are going about their business where, you have people interacting with them. Natives have always interacted with them. They had in the book, I actually even put in about the giving rock. There are so many people I know that live in harmony with the nature around them, even to the point of giving out offerings. And a lot of times the Bigfoot will give stuff back. It might be a walking stick or, a rock of some kind or something like that. But it's amazing once you can live in that balance, but then you have something that comes in and disrupts that, and all hell breaks loose, because it's just like anything else. I can look at my backyard and I can see the fight for survival. I can see, everybody in my yard. If you're lucky enough to wind up in my yard, you don't have to fight for survival. You just have to show up and get the seed and get the sandwiches I'm making and get all the stuff I'm putting out there, because everybody eats in my yard and they all eat together. And, like I'll look outside and, you lose hope when you look at the news, or you're riding through traffic, or you just fought with somebody at the grocery store, whatever it may be. When you look in your backyard and you see a rabbit, 2 chipmunks, a dove, some blue jays, some sparrows, chickadees, and some baby ducks that are about that big, look like peeps you get on Easter, the little marshmallow things. That's how little they are. And they're all eating together. Nobody's fighting. The squirrels are out there while they're grabbing as many peanuts they get a hold of, but they're getting along. There's no war. We have to fight. Now, if there was only one peanut, there would be a struggle for the survival. But as long as you can keep that balance, everything is fine and working in harmony. And I honestly believe that's what we're all supposed to be here doing. That's what we're going to be put on this prison planet to learn how to do. Right now, we're like not even a quarter of the way there by the looks of it. We're going to take some time, but we've been getting better. I don't think we've been getting better. We've been noticing it more, maybe, that's why light workers are so important. We have to keep putting that light out in the darkness. And I think in some ways, Michelle, tonight you've had me see in that just the story you told, that it's very possible that a certain group of Bigfoot are here to keep the lights on.
Yes.
When you look at it through the eyes of nature and the balance of nature and how everything has a purpose, as long as we don't muck around with it, when we start putting our 2 cents in, we start screwing it up. Have you seen dogs lately? They got their faces pushed in. They grabbed the hole and pulled them out real long, gave them tiny little legs. They're starting to give cats little tiny legs and making their tails short. Here, let's take all the things away from cats that make them cats. They can't jump and balance and everything else, but we know better. So let's muck around with it. As soon as we start getting involved, things start going haywire. And I think some of this nature is here to remind us of that. And I also believe some of the aliens might very well be here to do that too. I think some of us want our heads. Don't get me wrong. But I think some of them are here to help us remember how good we can be if we just stop trying to fight each other and compete with each other and just be the best individuals we are and help each other out. You don't have to drag somebody along if they're not helping themselves. Let them go. Look, honey, when they get hungry, they'll figure something out. They're either going to try to take it from you and find out what that causes, or they're going to figure out a way to straighten up. Some people need more help, but some people you can't drag them. And people tell me all the time, you cannot, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Look, Cisco's tired. I ain't got time to play. If you come to me and you need water, I'm going to hold your head underwater and I'm going to kick you swiftly in the balls. I guarantee you're going to take a drink. That's where I'm at right now. So I don't have time. I don't have time to coax you and feed you with a spoon. Mama's getting old. I got to get this information out. You know what I mean? So I'm going to read this one. What we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to mention a couple of different portals. And anytime, Michelle, you want to chime in, you have a story or a further explanation of it, because this is all very basic. I just wanted to give us a little something outline. So what is a natural portal? We've been talking about those, right? A natural portal is a place or phenomenon in nature believed to connect our world to other realms, dimensions, or spiritual plane. Think of mysterious caves, glowing auras, or deep ocean trenches, locations that inspire awe and feel like gateways to the unknown. In folklore, places like stone circles or sacred springs are seen as portals where the veil between worlds ends. We forgot about the sacred springs and the water. I guarantee water can be a portal, right? Do you feel the same? Do you
Oh,
feel the
yeah.
same? Okay.
Definitely.
Scientifically, like I said, I'm just stabbing at this, folks, but it makes sense to me. Scientifically, some theorize cosmic phenomena like black holes or wormholes could act as portals, bending time space to link distant parts of the universe. Makes sense to me. These natural wonders captivate us because they challenge our understanding of reality. Perfectly said, I think. I can't take credit for that. That was I grabbed it from somewhere. I can't remember. So here we go. Imagine something like this, on the side of a mountain, you're walking along and all of a sudden you see this big swirling thing start, because I think we can activate these too. Just like we can activate ghosts or haunting with our energy. Do you believe that to be true? Does that make sense to you? Picture standing in the
Absolutely.
of a glowing cave or staring into a starry vortex. Natural portals make us wonder what's on the other side. No kidding, right? So can you see these?
Right.
If you want to read one, you're welcome to. But if you can't see it, I'll do it. They'll have to struggle
Go
with
for
me.
it.
Okay. The Legend of the Fairy Ring Portal. Now, here you go, Vixen. I told you we were coming up. That's why I didn't want you to think I forgot your question. The Legend of the Fairy Ring Portal. In Irish folklore, fairy rings, circles of mushrooms in grassy fields, are said to be portals to the fairy realm. One story tells of a farmer in County Clare who stepped into a fairy ring in a moonlit night in the 1800s. He vanished for 3 days, returning with tales of a magical world where time moved differently. Locals believe the ring was a gateway guarded by fairies, only open to those chosen. Now that's another thing, chosen. Your energy, going by your energy, that kind of thing, right? Or maybe they know you, for a while. With fairies, you have a little bit more stuff, I think, going on. I can't say that one. Paulinbrone Dolman. Wow. Just get me on that one. In Ireland, a Neolithic stone structure is often linked to such tales, seen as a portal to the spirit world due to its ancient burial significance. Wow. There it is, Vixen. Look at that. Can you imagine? So now you just step in that. So you're just some, walking along, and you step into this and you're supposed to disappear? Sometimes. Probably only the chosen, for whatever reason. It might be a good reason, it might be a bad reason, right? I don't know.
Right.
I guess the fairies judge you. Vixen, what's the lore on that, sweetie? Vixen's my go-to fairy, the phone a friend.
No.
The lore. I mean, yeah, just the depth of knowledge. So, is that the thing? Like, if you're chosen for whatever reason, is there something behind it where it, like, the bad people get taken, or is it like the good people because they want to make that person a part of their world or something? What's the lore on that? They used to appear on our front lawn all the time. Did you step in one? What happened? Tell me what happened with that. Okay, so it takes a few minutes, so I guarantee you we're going to get an answer on that one. And I think they're pretty, but I don't play around. I don't mess around with little folk or fairies or any of that. I believe in all of that. There's too many stories going way back all around the globe, and I just respect it. Especially if I don't understand something, I don't mess with it. You know what I mean? So here's another description of portals. Okay, portals that we open. Now we're getting into a little bit more of the dark side, and I guarantee Michelle's got her reasons why she feels that and what I feel. You've heard my opinion on it many a time. So human-made portals, opening the unknown. Humans have long tried to create or access portals through rituals, technology, or mystical practices. From ancient shamans using trance to journey to other realms, to modern experiments like CERN's particle accelerators were driven to pierce the boundaries of reality. Practices like Ouija boards tap into spiritual beliefs, aiming to connect with the dead while scientific endeavors like CERN explore if particle collisions could theoretically open micro wormholes. These attempts reflect our curiosity and sometimes hubris to unlock hidden dimensions. Now, that's a good, to put down on that. So, whether it's a Ouija board or a $1 billion collider, we're obsessed with opening doors to the unknown. But should we? And I think that's a good question. So, what do you think about some of that? As far as, let's start talking about the man-mades, the ones that we open.
Well,
Where would you take us on that?
first of all, I would say anything such as a Ouija board or CERN, things like that. No, I do not feel that we should be messing with these things. Because just from some of the beings that I have seen, remote viewing, and in other ways, some of them are beautiful and some of them are not. And if everyone could see some of the entities that travel back and forth, and not just how they look appearance wise, but what their intentions are. I feel like people would not think that Ouija boards are so cool anymore. I think that people would start really wanting to make sure that anything that they do is not opening another portal. Now, that being said, I also feel like the higher we raise in frequency, that we are actually becoming a portal ourselves. And what I mean by that is how we are within consciousness. The higher we raise our vibration, the more that we are in alignment with God and the divine and the universe, all that is of love, all that is of God. When we begin doing that, it's like we keep bumping up higher and higher energetically, and all of a sudden, the abilities go through the roof. The abilities, it's like when you go one more step, then you notice that your ability gets stronger, or you gain a new ability that you didn't know you had, right? Something amazing, or you're getting downloads. And when these things happen, it's actually, to me, it's us becoming our own portal, our own direct access. So that's a portal.
Yeah, when you're saying, you're describing that to me as far as raising your vibration and your frequency, it is almost thinning the veil, because you're getting closer to that other side. What a wonderful way of putting that. I never thought of it that way. So again, when you sit down with something, it could be anything. I could be sitting right here in this chair and just do it myself and say, hey, is anybody out here? Is any spirits here? They want to come in and talk to me, move this glass, or type it out on the keyboard, or make this the candle flicker, or whatever it may be. If you don't have some kind of protection, if your vibration is not up, if your frequency isn't up, if you don't have that protection around you, and we've talked about this all the time because it's so big for me, what condition are you in? I told the story last week, and you're gonna love this. So it's what case was it? 966 Lindley Street. Now this was the famous one. I think it happened in late 70s. I think it was Long Island or close to it. It may have been Connecticut. Don't hold me to it. So either way, there was this case, and it was a bad poltergeist case, probably multiple things going on at the same time. It was one of those cases. Tiny little house had a lot of play because the cops showed up and they saw the refrigerator moving and they heard the cat talking. There was a lot going on here. Okay. So the point is, it was a big case, and the Warrens were called. Think what you want about the Warrens. They were called. They were in this story. Okay. So Lorraine Warren gets a call, and somebody, I think it was, I can't remember, one of the police officers or something that was familiar with them. Somebody called them, and they were going to go. They had invited Paul Eno to dinner. Now, Paul Eno was a young man who was going to what do you call the preschool seminary or whatever, the beginning. He wanted to be a priest. He was in kindergarten preschool. So
Okay.
he goes to show up for dinner because his university or whatever, he was also interested in parapsychology. They hooked him up with the Warrens. He was going to dinner, never met him yet. When he gets there, he gets out of the car. Lorraine comes out of the front door, meets him at the sidewalk, like he used to do, as though he's coming to dinner, whatever, at the front door. And the first thing she does is says, "Are you Paul Eno?" He says, "Yes, I am." "Are you Lorraine?" She says, "Yes, I am." She says, "What is your state of spiritual being right now?"
Mhm.
And he didn't know how to answer it. He says, "What do you mean?" Because he thought right away, okay, because I'm going to seminary school, is this, he's trying to process the question. She says, "No, wait a minute. There's a case. I think it may be demonic. I need you to come with us to help. I need to know what state of mind and being you are in right now. How are you with God?" I mean, it's like, are you sick? Are you infirmed? Say what you want about that couple. That was the right question.
Yes.
Because you don't bring somebody with you, it's not going to just hold you back. It could injure you. It could weaken you to where this thing is going to get, a leg up. You know what I'm saying? So it's so important. I take so much garbage for, my YouTube, because here lately, well, the past 10 years, everybody's gotten real used to that real quick dopamine hit. TikTok, fast shorts, short little videos with blah, 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 a lot of lights and flashes and done, whatever it may be.
Yes.
We're going at the paranormal like that, and you cannot. You
No.
can't do the short version of this. You cannot do because it's going to cost you. It could cost you your life. And I'm not here to scare anybody, but that bullshit people have been telling you for decades that ghosts can't hurt you is wrong.
No, it's
Because
wrong.
it's not just ghosts out there that can do it. There's multiple things out there can do it. And when you get that hubris, like we said earlier, when you get that nothing can hurt me, yada, 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 things show up, whether it has anything to do with the doll or the haunted vase or the haunted rock you picked up from, Hawaii and brought home after you were told not to, but you did it anyway because you're that kind of person, and you just want to be shown. A lot of people get shown, and it could be anything from just having a lot of bad luck to losing family members, because most of the time those things do not affect you physically. They affect the people you love, because that is where the real suffering is. And then they're going to suck that loose off of you like a fine wine, baby.
Exactly.
So,
It's going back to the curse, ancestors putting curses on things, and saying, "Hey, this is sacred," and not respecting sacred.
yeah,
We
yeah.
should be respecting
Being
point blank.
cocky. The same thing with the Bigfoots, the same thing with all the cryptids, anything beautiful that we're given. It's like we want to destroy it, or like I said, and change it. And if you go at things differently, it's a whole different experience.
Yeah.
Like I'll give you something real quick. My family and I love the chipmunks. I tell you this all the time. I think they're adorable. And you look, nobody bothers me. Everybody respects me. We have an understanding. It's like, look, you're not gonna, mess with this. You're not gonna eat my my hosta, whatever. And anybody causes problems, I'm gonna call out to the whole yard. Y'all aren't gonna have a good day because he's messed up. Tell the class, we're all gonna be punished because this guy can't follow the rules over here. And I'll tell him like that. And you'd be surprised at stuff that happens in my yard. But here's something else that happens. They bring you this vibration that is so healing and so back to earth, back to, that kind of thing, that it's so powerful. Like seeing these little chipmunks in a daggum teacup will raise you, because I make all these teacup bird feeders and stuff like that. They're so dang cute. And seeing a chickadee or a little cardinal in that, and you just take it in a moment, and it refreshes your soul. Probably the same as looking at the mountain view, looking at a sunset, looking at the ocean, hearing the waves and those ionic, those wonderful, that sound and that rhythmic stuff that just is so healing. but we become so, what's the word, Michelle? It's so, I don't want to say cocky, but we become so brash. We become so calloused. We become so, I have to have my Starbucks. I have to be the first car in line. I have to beat you. You're going too slow. I have to go around you. I have to be the, this person. I have to have that purse. I have to wear that cologne. I have to have whatever they're showing me in these fast little TikTok influencer things. And it has nothing to do with the survival of humanity. Nothing. It's all consumer, materialistic, me giving me mine, keeping up with the Joneses. I have to wear what she's wearing. I have to drive what he's driving. I have to know how many followers you have. And people stop taking time, and you cannot go at the paranormal, the supernatural, or the metaphysical this way, because you will pay for it. Your loved ones will pay for it. Your bloodline could pay for it.
Severely.
Go wherever you want to go on that one. You agree?
I absolutely agree. I believe in family curses. I believe in it going down for generations until someone breaks the curse. I really do. I mean, and I feel this way because I know in this lifetime I have been that generational curse breaker over some family things. And it has been very, very hard this lifetime. But very worth it. But it's not something that we want to continually keep coming into and experiencing lifetime after lifetime because it's not easy at all. When you're dealing with curses.
So well put. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's a real thing. I just absolutely, it's wild you're mentioning this because, well, you're right into it and you're probably picking up on it. Last Sunday, I did bloodline curses. I did bloodline curses and things that follow your bloodline, like, look, I'm going to tell you the truth. You could have had some wackadoo great, 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 great auntie that sold your bloodline to the devil so her crops would come up. You do not know, because people got nervous when we started again getting involved and started shifting people around, whether we were taking people by force or just moving people around because people were interested and got, moved continents and all this other stuff, people from one place to another. Cultures came in. So you had a multiple people, however you want to say, whoever got here first, whether it was the Vikings or the Chinese or whatever. But the indigenous people that were here in the Americas, they had a structure. They weren't all good. You had plenty of tribes that went over, invaded another tribe, and there was plenty of fighting, but there was also a balance going on. They knew damn well that if they went up and took all the herbs, there wouldn't be any herbs next season to do any healing. You had to take 1/3. That was the rule. You could have 1/3. You left 1/3 to nature and to, things that might be destroyed by storms or whatever, or animals or other things, predators, disease. And then you left the other third to hopefully be there next year. So you can continue this on. And if you can, you plant back. You plant seed back to replace. And if you didn't do this, you would starve.
Planting seeds.
It was that simple. Yeah, planting seeds. But it was that simple. If you didn't do that, your people would die. If you killed all the buffalo, your people would die. Because you had to leave some to survive for the next. You learned that by experience, right? You learned it by not doing it. Hey, we almost starved, better not do that again. Whatever, trial and error. So the group of people come over and they misunderstand what's going on over here. They think everybody is just a heathen and a savage. And they see buffalo and they realize that they can sell the hide over in England. It's all the rate. Now it's all about money. Now we're just going to take all the hide and leave all the buffalo, stacked up, all the meat and everything else, and just kill everything. Take it all. Take all the beaver. Take all this. Take all that. Just greed, 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 greed. Give me, give me, give me. This doesn't work. Things go extinct. People go hungry. The balance is off. So what Michelle was saying about the Bigfoot coming, possibly aliens as well, probably other things also, to keep that balance, they're fighting the worst thing they could ever fight, the worst disease to ever hit this planet, as far as nature and the planet's well-being, and that's us. Now, that doesn't mean that I believe in this green, all that crap. I'm just, listen, We're like a
No.
bad, if the earth was mad at us, it would shake us off like a bad case of fleas. You know,
No.
we're just not, but the thing is we could do better. And I think a lot of the paranormal metaphysical stuff is here to teach us that. It's here, but it's here also to teach us. We've got guardian angels, we've got spirit guides, we have the dead coming back to tell us, hey, knock that off. I love
We
you,
do.
love is eternal. Quit doing that, straighten yourself out, enjoy life, laugh some more. What are you doing?
Yeah.
They'll give you stuff like that. We've got Bigfoot, we've got things like this coming to tell us, which I think for a large case, like I said, I think there's benevolent Bigfoot, and I think there's some that's just, had enough of us,
Yeah.
and trying to survive. But
Mhm.
we're like that,
Yes. Yes.
I mean, look, there's a lot of different people too, and all different personalities, and you have groups that, are just very aggressive and just, go and just like, look, we know what we're here to do, you're in our way, kind of thing. And I
Right.
think that why would there be things like that in nature? I think that's more of the dogman thing. But what do you think about these dogmen coming through in portals, back and forth? Are you a person that accepts the idea of possible, I want to say, let's just say, government intervention, that it might have taken something and tried to manipulate it and turn it into a weapon, and now we have a bunch of things roaming that probably shouldn't have been messed with?
I
Almost
do. I
transhumanism,
do.
you know?
I do feel like that's possible because um, what I have experienced, and I'm only speaking of this because um, I have different times been taken on spacecraft and seen the bird people, part human, part bird. So that's telling me that um, there are what should I say, other dimensions where they're extremely advanced and they're still doing these things. So if they're doing these things, it's like, why would we not be doing these things?
Yeah,
Why you see what I'm saying?
I do. I do.
I do feel like I got to be careful what I say, but I
Mhm.
do feel like there is a lot more that is known than is told.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And I can't imagine why we wouldn't be doing stuff like that. Because here's the thing. We can't help ourselves. We can't not mess with things. I can understand going to Africa and creating and genetically modifying a wheat that will grow taller and not, die to a flood or whatever it is that they need to do, because it's feeding people. But have we altered it to fix the problem and created 5 more problems because we've put so many chemicals in it? Now they're eating the food, but they're dying from the chemicals. We don't go the next route in a lot of cases. Some we do. I would say that there's some wonderful things out there. But if we took something like a wolf, or there was a regular dog, I believe there's different, and Brian, you tell me if I'm right, because he knows I'm not fluent in this. When I have a question, I go to Brian on the dogman. But I have a theory on this, that there was a natural type of dogman, Rugaru, okay?
Okay.
And we got a hold of one, bad guys. Everything good, or everything that can be manipulated and tweaked to turn into a weapon, usually is through time. And I think that that's what happened, because here's the thing. Either that, or there's a planet somewhere with these dogmen coming through with soldier type tendencies. What's got me is, if we took something like a dogman, and the dogman had the ability to go back and forth in these portals, very much like we pretty much accept the Bigfoot's doing, and other things as well, ghosts, living, all different kinds of entities. If we messed with it and we altered it, it's interesting to me that it could still do those things. Do you see what I'm saying? What I'm going to do is when I'm talking, I'm going to cut your microphone. 1 second.
Okay.
I think what's happening is, you see, now I'm talking, you can still hear me, right? I think what's happening, there's a little feedback. There must be something where my feedback is coming through her microphone twice, and that's probably what it is. So I'll try to catch it as much as I can. I'm sorry about that. But Brian, what do you think about that? Put it in the chat. Do you think that there was a type of dogman that was natural, cryptid or whatever, and it's possible that government got a hold of it and altered it, and now we have a dogman that's kind of a super soldier? I think you might be answering me here. What do you think? You think that's possible, don't you?
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know. I'm spitballing.
Yes.
True. Okay, there are extraterrestrials which look like dogmen, but also understand that Saint Christopher is depicted as dogman. Okay, but do you think? Look, I know what his answer is going to be. He's going to tell me that government would absolutely do that. And dogman has definitely been captured by. Okay, see, I told you. Yeah, to create super soul. This is what I think, and I've been thinking that for years, and I've been thinking it the minute I heard George Knapp talk about that one come crawling through a portal. Because of the way it acted and the fact that it was described as wearing almost human type clothes. And at first, when it was described, I think I felt like they were trying to tell me it was a wolf man.
Okay.
But I was not picking up that energy, Michelle. I was picking up something totally different. Because to me, a wolf man is a human, if you believe in that thing. And I'm at this point, I'm like,
Right. Why not?
You know what I mean? I've seen some shit, so I can't tell you. But to me, a wolf man would be a person that got bit, somehow diseased, tapped, whatever. And now by the full moon turns into this reluctantly, usually very painfully, turns into this wolf man lichen kind of thing. That's wolfman to me. Dogman is something completely different. And I think we have a third category, and looks like Brian's agreeing with me on the bingo, that we have this one that we have gotten hold of and messed with. So if you don't think people mess with things, look at a wolf. Okay. Now look at a pug dog.
Yeah.
That's not evolution.
Right. I have a pug. I mean, I could tell you.
I mean, not that there's anything wrong with the pug, but that's not evolution. There's nothing survival for that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's like it affects her. So like I had never owned a pug before. And so having one, it affects her hearing, it affects her ears, in many different ways other than just hearing. It affects how she eats. It affects how she can't open her mouth wide like most dogs, like should be. There is, when Cisco's right, when we mess with things that are supposed to be a certain way, things, when we alter things, it doesn't always turn out for the best.
Usually it turns out for the worst. That's absolutely true. And Brian is agreeing with me. And I mean, I was trying not to look. I wanted to say what my theory was to see if he agreed with me, because he'll tell me if I'm off. Believe me, I'll tell him if he's off too. It's okay. We're brothers. So punch each other in the arm every once in a while. But here's the thing. It got me because it's Skinworker Ranch, and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't George Knapp come out first with that and was talking about the portals and all that? And I think that's what got him, in the sheer number of UFOs and things like that. You know what I mean? That they had there. I think your theory, Michelle, with the whole the courts, and of course, we're not the only ones that have been saying it. People have been saying that forever, but we need to say it enough that people take that into consideration when they're doing paranormal investigation. Because here you had two portals in the same property, probably independent of each other, probably not even taking you to the same place when you walk through it. Now there's something else to think about. If you've got a portal in your closet, now I can tell you 100 stories of people with portals in their closets, right? We've seen them all here. I've showed you ghost stories ad nauseum for 11 years now. So we've all seen them where everything's coming out of the freaking closet. And how many times have we told people there's a portal in the closet? Why? Why a closet? Why the corner of the room? Why the corner of the ceiling, corner of the floor? Why the stairs? What a place on the landing. So it might be something with the configuration of the way the stairs. I don't know. I mean, I got questions because here's the thing. I know portals can be closed very simply by people with some ability and some understanding of the situation. We can close these portals. And most of the time, people come in and say, somebody opened a portal and left it open. These are the schmucks that are going down to the Toys R Us it's a Toys R Us, buying the Ouija board, giving it to a bunch of prepubescent teenage girls on a Friday night and say, here, have fun. Because now you've got all that energy in the room. You know that they're not shielding themselves. You know that they're not putting any light around them. You know they're not. Now, let me ask you a question. Those girls that are sitting there, you have to imagine. Now, again, it could be boys. It could be whatever. I mean, just ride with me here. So these girls are sitting there. You've got them 12, 13, 14 years old. Their energy is off the charts, right? Yeah. First of all, we know that they can, if it's suppressed energy and they have abilities, they can sling a refrigerator without even trying. And they don't know it's them. That's how powerful energy is. Now, you've got these little girls in this room, and they're all giggly. You know how they do. They're jumping up and down in the bed. They're all giggly, getting that energy all over the room. And then they sit down in front of the Ouija board, and they say something fun like, hey, is anybody here that wants to talk to us? Now, listen. The drunk son of a bitch Navy sailor guy that fell off or was fighting in a bar fight, wound up dying in the alley down the street, still wandering up and down that street looking for a little light. You don't think those girls are putting off a lot of light? You don't think that them calling up and going, hey, if you're here and you want to talk to us, you can come on in. We're giving you permission to do so. Well, here comes old, Navy Billy from 1950, whatever, still wandered around, still got his drunk, gruff attitude. And these little girls just invited him into their spirit to use their body as a vessel to come through their hands and use their energy to move that planchette. Yes. And he didn't even wash his hands. Do you understand what I'm saying? Everything that has to do with that ghost, I'm not going to say spirit because it hasn't crossed yet, but that low vibrating. Now, there's nothing wrong with Billy Bob, whatever his name is. He's just the guy that, he died drunk. He died in a bar fight. He's been wandering the streets, going in and out of bedrooms and bathrooms and basements for a long time now. And then he sees this light with these little girls. And now these little girls are going to ask him, it's like, can we talk to George Washington? Can you find my lost bracelet? And Billy says, sure, it's over there, under the bed. You find the bracelet. Now you and Billy are friends. Now, the more you talk to this thing, the more energy you exchange. It's like, almost like, I want to say it's almost like swap and spit. You know what I mean? It's almost like kissing because you're the DNA. There's definitely things coming off of this thing, and now you tell me and you get this cocky little attitude like, look, it's just the board. The girls had a good time. Everything was fine. Nothing happened. Okay, really? Well, here's the deal. Katie, who was giggling through the whole thing because she was nervous, wasn't having a good time. She was pretty scared. So it latched onto that fear. And now on top of that fear, she's got to pretend she wasn't scared. So now she's lying. Now she's lying and she's hiding everything from her friends. And that energy, that low-level energy is building up. Now she's scared and she's ashamed. Low-level energy building up. She goes to sleep that night. She gets her little Hello Kitty book bag and goes home to her alcoholic father, where that energy is still on her, is accentuated by and magnified by the father's nasty energy, and the beatings begin. Or he's attacked and oppressed. And now Billy Bob, whatever his name is, takes over this guy, and the whole family gets broke up. So, and yes, one night I'll do a one on the Warrens, but I'm in the middle with the Warrens. They did some good, they did some bad, just like everybody. Just like a lot of these people that, when somebody reads a headline about Cynthia Brown and figures, for 45 years she did no good, and that's just not true. You got to be honest about people, as far as I'm concerned. But there's no doubt they tried to manipulate some things to make money. But you know what? It costs money for gas. It costs money to hire photographers. It costs money. I mean, people think that anybody that asks for $50 for gas is a charlatan. I'm not saying that's what they did, but it's so people can be so judgy so quick, and they don't realize what mediums and paranormal investigators, people that go sit with, your dog is flying around your living room and they're sleeping on your couch in the same clothes they showed up on a Thursday, and they won't leave. You and your kids in danger. And then when we leave, I don't know, that medium was a little off. Well, do it yourself.
Right.
That's where I'm at. I warn people. I'll tell them. And again, you want to think I'm brash and whatever, but you don't have no idea the crap I've put up with. You have no idea, why I'll say, Michelle's getting there. She's got this loving energy, and everything else is like, oh my God. Listen, when you go through, until you get to the point, it's like, do you want help or not? Because I'm not here for, it's costing me. I took off from work. You know what I mean? People can be nasty. Lady, you asked me for help. Just sit down and listen. Because I'm not.
Well,
that's it.
People a lot of times, we're all in human physical body, and it takes a lot to be able to stop talking long enough to be able to listen. That I found that's a lot that I have problems with, that I'm working on within myself. Is being around people that, like, when I try to, because I'm very considerate, because that's how, at least that's something good that I learned from my mom, to be very, very considerate and loving.
You should never change that. You should never change that. You should never get jaded, because it takes no, and you should, because here's the thing. What you do is you just get with a team and you get your doorbuster, and what I mean by that is, look, you have a ramrod. You have somebody that goes in and says, okay, I need you to sit in here. I'm going to take your husband in the kitchen. We're going to ask you some questions. We need to know what's going on in the house. Could be fighting, could be drugs, could be some kind of mental thing, could be some kind of abuse. It could be this, it could be that, it could be whatever. You could have, I don't know, full-blown Satan rituals going on in your basement. We don't know. We're going to figure it out, because we're putting ourselves at risk for total strangers to help you, the living, and help whatever dead you got messing with you, or whatever entity you got messing with you. And then you have that, and you have a medium come in. I'll use Amy Allen as a because I know the thing, some of the she, because here's the thing, and she won't tell you. I mean, she'll get mad. I mean, she can get a little pissed. She can get pissed. Believe me, she can take care of herself and stick up, but she doesn't normally put it out there. So she goes in and she goes into a case, and then she winds up in the hospital for 2 weeks. And the son of a bitch that she went to go help, all they're worried about is the show and the money and everything else. Say, well, she was a little this and she was a little that. That woman is sick because she cleaned your house and you're bad mouthing her. See what I mean? We have got to get our humanity back. That's why I said you can't change that. I can be like this now because I don't know who's listening. So I sound adamant. I sound matter of fact. I sound like I'm being stern, because I am, because I've seen the damage it can do. I'm so tired of people going, I've used this, and I'm not telling you not to use a Ouija board. I wouldn't dare tell you not to, because I know people that use that stuff and use pendulums and doubts. I use it myself.
Yeah, and I use pendulums, yes.
Yes, you do as well. And crystals, and anything can be done wrong. I can pick up a chainsaw and I can cut down a tree and clear a path for, whatever, and do some good. Or I can take a chainsaw and do some damage with it. Tools are tools, and you have to know how to use them. But we've got to stop this arrogance of going around. It's like portals don't exist. This doesn't exist. This doesn't exist. Because if you say it loud enough, what you're doing is you're challenging the universe, and it's going to find a way to change your mind or to teach you. If you're meant to learn, the universe is going to find a way to teach your butt. What do you think?
It's true.
I think this is a perfect time. You want to see a little ghost story? Now,
Oh,
anybody that wants to get up, look, we're almost done, but we have enough time for this ghost story. Now, this may or may not have anything to do with a portal. And we certainly didn't cover everything on portals, but I think we had a really good conversation on it. Enough for everybody to think about this. I want you to be thinking about what causes the portal. And I want you to understand that if it's a portal, now correct me if I'm wrong on this, Michelle, but again, I'm just a guessing at this. If it's a portal that was opened by a human, you can close it.
yes.
You can close it yourself with your own power, your own light, your own knowledge, and you just close it. And before we go, I'll have you, if you know how to do that, I'd love for you to go through that. Okay? Because I know it's a simple thing, but it also has to be something you believe in. Because none of this stuff works if you're just going to you might as well throw a slipper at it. It's not going to work. That is for sure in the metaphysical, paranormal, supernatural, for real. But this is a story that it was in Halifax. There was an explosion, and this lady is just going about her business and observing, like Michelle just said, the listening, the observing, the being aware of your surroundings and seeing the different things that are, and taking all that in instead of approaching it in all with the screaming and the running and the oh my gods. The more we try to understand things, the calmer we are, the more we understand, the less we'll be afraid. And I think these stories are very good for that, because this woman walked in with just a slight knowledge of life and death and the afterlife and, her beliefs. And she does an amazing thing. And I think it's an absolutely beautiful story. I think it shows that intent is number one. And what would the word be, Michelle? Just being a part of humanity and understanding that humanity is all of us. You may not like the person down the road or, whatever. You can avoid that person because you don't like the things he's doing. But I guarantee you, when you get to the other side, you're going to find that person is part of you. I hate that. That's one of the hardest things to admit, that we are all part of each other.
We are.
That's the big secret. So when I punch such and such, I'm punching myself.
Yeah.
When I get mad and I curse that guy, I'm cursing me. So
Right.
that's why Daniel Brinkley goes around and tells everybody, I'm hugging everybody because I'm hugging me on the other side. I'm going to need these hugs.
Right.
Think about that, folks. Because we're going through a lot of tensions right now. And I want to know from you the tensions that are going on in the world and everything else. How do you float through that in your day? Do you ride it like a wave? Do you just keep going about your business and find reasons to smile and find reasons to, keep nature going like Bigfoot is doing? I think that was a beautiful way to explain that, Michelle, because that's what if we can think like them and just say, hey, at least the benevolent ones, if we could just say, hey, if I could just keep my atmosphere going, if I can keep my people smiling, if I can keep laughing, if I can keep singing, I keep the birds fed, they make me smile. I plant flowers, they're pretty to look at. If you can change your environment, and if everybody did that, back up and look at what the world would look like.
Right.
If everybody thought about like Michelle believes and how sweet, beautiful her soul is, and this woman too, I think that's what made me think. She reminds me a lot of you and the way you would approach things, the way Stephanie approaches things, the way I've seen you guys do the paranormal investigation. Of course, you're going in to do it, so it's different. Yeah. She kind of walked and stumbled into it. The way she handled it was beautiful. So if y'all would like to see a little ghost story, this is about 15 minutes or so. We'll be here. We can speak through it if you want. But if you need to get up and get a tea or a sandwich or something like that, just listen. It goes on for a little bit, and I think this one's good and loud, so we should be able to hear it. So don't feel bad if you need to go get a sweet tea or something, okay? But here we go. This one I call intent. This is a good one. I'm so glad you're getting to see this. You're going to love it.
One day I was visiting one of the staff members, who's also a friend of mine, in the main basement of the house. And I thought, uh-oh, I could feel a chill coming off the bathroom. I stepped back, and there was the matron. And I look, and
can you hear me, sweetie? Yeah, we're getting a lot of feedback. So if you want to say something, just raise your hand. I'll turn your microphone back on. I'm going to turn both our microphones off so they don't get the feedback in there, if that's cool with you. Is it cool? Okay.
I could see her outline, and she's following my friend. Most of my life I have lived here in Halifax, but I have lived in different parts of Halifax, from everywhere from the south, the west, the east, and most interesting would be, I'd have to say, the north end of Halifax. That's where our history is. I am an artist, and myself and a business partner founded an art gallery for the disabled called V Street Gallery Studio in a historic building called Veith House. It's a replica of an orphanage that had been destroyed by the Halifax explosion.
What happens when a person dies without warning? Do their souls go straight to heaven? Or do they get lost and wander the earth searching for a home? Hello, I'm Lawrence Chow. The Halifax explosion was one of the biggest man-made disasters in history. 2,000 people died almost instantly. Our experts believe their sudden death accounts for the abundance of ghost stories in Halifax. Today, we meet Sheila Smith, who tells us of a ghostly encounter with spirits who lost their way after the explosion. Some of the spirits come to her for guidance, but others seem to have a more sinister purpose.
I was once told by my mother that certain people have a light, if you will, that emanates from them, and some was brighter than others. My mother told me mine was always very bright, and she said spirits, well, it's like a lighthouse, they can see it. And
I had to turn this back on because that's so important, Michelle. And I'm wondering if you're picking up on the type of woman this is. Did you happen to hear where she said that she opened a art therapy school for the disabled? So I'm imagining her spirit and her soul is already just prime right to have this intent. She's already doing this in life with the living. Yeah. Watch what she does with the dead. This is amazing. And I wanted to point that out to everybody because if you're looking at the type of person that's doing this, you understand what kind of vibration and frequency you need to be in to get these kind of results. And Michelle and I talk about this all the time. Brian and I talk about this all the time. Jim Wiry, Dave and I, Mike Simpson, so many people that I've worked with. And it's, you go in and in 45 minutes, we get more than you've seen in 5 seasons of any of these ghost shows because of the intent. This is one of the most important ghost stories you'll ever see if you're interested in learning more about ghosts. Love it.
They're going to be attracted to that. Veith House started off as a small orphanage. I don't know when it was originally built because of the incident of the Halifax explosion where the 2 ships collided that were both filled with munitions. Orphanage and many other structures in Halifax was destroyed. They had rebuilt that orphanage not long after the destruction of the first one because one was needed so desperately. When I first started working there, I had heard little bits and pieces about the ghost boy, and I didn't really think too much of it. And part of me thought, well, it'd be kind of neat to see or hear something, but then I realized that I'm up there most of the time by myself. when you're up there by yourself and the cold winter wind is blowing on the outside, it's a little bit creepy. And especially if you go in there after dark, you have to go through a number of feet before you get to the light switch. So I would whistle to myself until I got my hands on it. Anyway, there was one day when I had just about everything cleaned up and I was up there by myself. The room went dead silent, and I mean dead silent. No creaking of pipes or floorboards, nothing. And I heard, Sheila, like a little child. And it was very distinct and very clear. I turned around and I couldn't see anyone, so I continued with my work. I felt kind of like a chill, I guess, on my back. And I knew the air had gone different. And I heard, hey, and I heard, heel foot, heel toe, heel toe. And I went to look in the hallway really fast, and I could hear back and forth in the hallway and this little laughter. And I thought, oh my goodness. So I was pretty scared. I had my pen in my hand and I was holding it so hard I heard it crack. I slowly walked into the studio and I thought, oh, those are handprints. Oh my. Just like little children, you know. I had folded it and put it somewhere and I couldn't find it afterwards. We had a Christmas party. There must have been at least 20 adults there. And there was lots of food and people were just milling about. And I was working by myself. And I heard, like small little loud footsteps, child and stumps, he, laughing and going on. And I thought one of the guests must have brought their child. So I went to see where the child was. I remember thinking his outfit looks a little outdated, but I thought, well, some people, that's sort of the style now, how they, dress children from the 20s and, different time period. I thought, oh, well, it's probably just this little Christmas outfit. And I said, well, where are your parents? And he said, I don't know where my parents are. And I said, well, they've got to be here somewhere. He goes, maybe. I don't know. I said, you stay in this area. Do not play on those stairs. I'm going to go find your parents. So I went around asking, each adult person, if they had a small, young, blonde child with them. And everyone had said no. So I went back down to the spot where he was playing, and he was gone. I couldn't even hear him. He was in the photos of the children who had died from the Halifax explosion. That was the child who I had actually spoken to. I was in the studio late one afternoon, and I remember because there was an electrical storm outside, and there was on one side of the building, the trees are actually touching the window, and I remember thinking, that window's going to come right through if that wind gets any harder. And then we had a flash of lightning. And I was talking to my business partner. I felt the air change. I said, uh-oh. And apparently, spirits can, when there's electrical molecules and whatnot in the air, it gives them more cohesion. There was enough energy where he was almost materializing, and I felt like him standing in front of me, and it only went to here, and it went right through me, and I kind of doubled over. And then it happened again, but from behind, and he was running in and out of me, through me. And he's going right through my center, my core, so I'm feeling it like all over, but it's centered, it's more powerful here. So, and he thought it was very funny. He thought it was funny when I would double over, like he wanted me to know that he was there. But eventually he did tire of that little game, but it was very annoying.
Our expert Dina Bain-Taylor says ghosts can interact with the living in many different ways. Sheila sees the boy ghost's behavior as game-playing and harmless. But she is disturbed by the behavior of another, whose ghostly games border on harassment.
I did a research project on the history of V House. I found myself in the library more often than not, looking up, ghosts and spirits, especially from Halifax. I had looked back at some of the city records of the employees and what types of things went on there, and they had nurses and matrons. From what I've read, Beath House was destroyed in the Halifax explosion, and just before the biggest part of the explosion, one of the matrons who looked after the children, the orphans, had heard some rumblings coming from the harbor, and she thought, well, World War I was on, so she thought it had something to do with that. She thought they were being bombed. So the first thing she did was to gather up as many children as she could and take them down to the basement. And unfortunately, that's where herself and most of the children had been killed.
It's just awful, isn't it?
One day I was visiting one of the staff members, who's also a friend of mine, in the main basement of Beath House. And we were in her office, which was at the end of a hallway facing the harbor. And we had to go upstairs for some reason or another. So on our way down the hall, there's a small little children's bathroom on our right-hand side. And she was ahead of me, so she walked past the bathroom, and I was in line with it, and I thought, uh-oh, I could feel a chill coming off the bathroom. I stepped back, and there was the matron, and she's following my friend. She turned around, and she saw me standing there like this, and she said, "What?" And my friend can't see her. I told her the matron is here. She's almost breathing down your neck. Kind of creeped her out a little bit. I don't blame her. For some reason, her home base seems to be the children's bathroom in the basement area. Perhaps that's where the adults don't interfere, or I don't know why it's that one in particular, but maybe that is where she actually passed away. I was up again at the gallery in the office area, and I was talking with Diana, and we were talking numbers or something to do with the business, and all of a sudden I felt that the air had changed. And then I saw movement in front of her face. I had to sort of stand back for a second because I couldn't understand what was happening, because it was just like a heat wave that you see come off the pavement. It was like that in the beginning. And then very quickly, I could see exactly what was going on. And I thought, oh my God. It was there maybe 30 seconds. That's long enough for you to be able to tell what you see and what's going on. She asked me what was wrong, and I said, whatever do you mean? She went awfully pale, and so I said, do you want to know? And she got really upset when I told her I had seen another face overlay on top of hers. which was fine. I mean, I understand that. If someone I couldn't see, if I knew they were doing that, I wouldn't be very impressed either.
I wanted to stop for just a second to see if you had anything you wanted to say about it. It's an incredible story, is it not? I mean, these kids.
This is, yeah.
And she takes them down to the basement. She takes them down to the basement, and she thinks she's saving them, and then all of a sudden this happens, and most of them perish, including her, it seems. I have a theory that this woman coming in, can you hear me? You can't hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you now.
I think it has something with this woman's energy, her light, her abilities, which is why this matron's coming through. Maybe in a way, I know with a lot of ghost stories, we look back and we can, after the fact, in retrospect, going back and looking at it, we can almost see why that ghost was attached to this person. I think she knew she was going to help. And I think it has something to do with her giving nature, that's her natural giving nature. Do you agree with that?
I do, because, I have actually spoken to people before where they have felt the presence and sometimes seen a little child that is with them that has passed over. And I would feel the same way too. I would tell them, I feel like, because they're like her, very loving and nurturing, and it's a safe place, or it's something that can give them some kind of resemblance maybe to their parent or their, whatever it is that they're searching for.
You're so right. It's the energy. They're drawn to that energy that they're seeking. Michael Madsen, we just lost to Michael Madsen, and I know the feedback is really bad, guys. We're just going to try to get through it. Michael Madsen was an actor. He just passed last week. One of my favorites. Long story short, he's in a hotel doing a movie, misses his family, misses his kid. He's a fantastic father, misses his kids. He's in the hotel. The ceiling fan starts to spin on its own. He's getting a little creepy. He's feeling a little funky in the room. Something's going on. A little girl appears in front of his bed. He trips him out. He sees her a couple more times. He finally mentions it to the manager. The manager downstairs in this old hotel says, "We did have a little girl chasing a ball, fell down the stairs and died." He goes on years thinking this, that he saw that girl. He gets with my friend Kim Russo, wonderful medium, her specialty is to go in and sort it. No, this is why the ghost was here. This is why the ghost was attached to you. This was the message we were trying to bring, that kind of thing. You know how we do. So, because it's always not as it appears on the surface. So he finds out that the little girl he saw is an older sister, that there was 2 kid ghosts there, that her younger brother is also there but more shy. She was more of the stronger of the 2. That place used to have an apartment that was next to an apartment buildings, kind of low budget. The parents were both on drugs. The parents were passed out. There was a fire. The kids hid. The little girl, very similar to this story, wants to save the little brother, hides in the closet, and they perished there. The little girl, Kim, looks right at Michael Madsen and says, "What were you thinking of at the time?" He said, "I was missing my kids." He said, "She was seeking a parent that could help her save her brother, and she was drawn to your energy." So for decades, he had thought this was a little girl chasing the ball. It's so easy to come up with the wrong idea of why something happened. When you give it a little time and you get the right people, you can find out the beautiful message that was behind that entire experience. And Kim was able to help those kids cross. So that's to me, that's what it's all about. Is it not? Isn't that beautiful? But that just backs up everything you just said. All right, I'm gonna cut these mics off again. We got about 5 minutes left. Wait till you see the end of this story. It's amazing.
Probably a little creeped out. I was home one evening and I find myself putting on my coat, and I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. I had a compulsion to go to V's house and do a clearing. was home one evening, and it was springtime, and I was in my apartment looking at the bus stop, and I find myself putting on my coat and putting my pass in my pocket. And then before I know it, I'm sitting at the bus stop, and I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. I had a compulsion to go to V's house and do a clearing. I went to V's house, and the maintenance fellow opens the door after I knock on the front door. And I said, "Hi, Robert." I said, "I have to do something downstairs in the basement. Is that okay?" He said, "Well, what are you going to do?" I said, "Well, to tell you the truth, I'm going to do a spiritual clearing." I said, "There's some souls in this place that just shouldn't be here. I just thought I'd like to try to send them on their way." We proceeded to what they call the sub-basement. And all I had was, well, my lighter and a piece of sweetgrass. And I just lit the end of the sweetgrass, blew out the flame, so it was just the sparks. I just kind of went from room to room and asked the spirits if they could lend me their attention. And then all of a sudden, it felt like feathers or fingertips very, very lightly, very softly, all over my skin at the same time. And it was moving, undulating and moving. It felt like it must have been many, because I just got the sense of more than one. I could feel them all around me. I've never felt anything like that before. And it was very strong, but it was very gentle. And I could hear, like, not whispers, but voices far off, but speaking softly. And many, and they grew louder, and I could tell there was more of them. And then I could hear the younger ones, but they were more like murmurs from the children. The little boy was distracted by something that he was looking at, which I assume was the doorway, if you will, to heaven. And then out of the shadows, that's where the stevedore had come. I should be scared, but for some reason I wasn't. I don't know why. And he was a big man, and he reeked of blood. He died there, but he was stevedore further down the harbor. And he was blown that far to the rubble of where the original orphanage was. And he was just very confused, very angry. But he began to settle down, and they all did. You could hear it, you could feel it. It was almost like a buzz in the air. Once I got them all in the same area, and I put it forth to them simply that if you wish to get out of here, there is a way that you can go home. Once I got them all in the same area, I put it forth to them simply that if you wish to get out of here, there is a way that you can go home to the light, to your family and your friends, and many more good things. My final words had to do with, you are now free to go. The door is open, there is the light. And it was dead silence, pardon the expression, but absolute quiet, which was unnatural. In an old house like that, especially in a basement, there should be noises. And then all of a sudden, a huge gust of wind. All these people were finally going home to where they belong. They don't feel lost and scared and in pain anymore. They don't have to live in that awful, awful moment of the Halifax explosion. And then I felt so good. yes, we did. I knew they were home. They were okay. And then I saw the matron. She wants to stay. She wants to stay. From some of the staff who hadn't even known about the clearing that I had done. And even myself, I noticed that it just feels lighter throughout the entire building. I'd like to think that when I pass, that if I cannot find my way, that there is going to be someone to help me.
Our experts tell us there are two kinds of ghosts, those with unfinished business and those who can't find their way. Death can be confusing, especially sudden and chaotic deaths like those in the Halifax explosion. A spirit might not know where they are, or even that they're dead. Sheila's clearing ceremony was simple, but our experts say it worked because it had the two essential elements: sweet grass to attract the spirits, and pure and honest intent to guide them on their spiritual path. In return, Sheila believes the ghost helped her, giving her a new outlook on both life and death.
Well, I lost my parents when I was very young, and life is, pretty much hard enough as it is. And I think that if I'm a guide, I also have guides. And I think if you're without, physical guides like your parents, you're going to need a lot of help. So I think that this is definitely giving me the...
There she goes. I don't know why it cut off like that, but I agree 100%. Is that not the most amazing doggone story?
It is. It's beautiful.
I know, but everything was so easy. Everything was so simple, Michelle. Everything that she came through, she went in it not really understanding everything. She went to the library, she read, she gathered information, she went at it with the want to help. And I think, again, like I mentioned in the beginning, that the type of person she was, that she had developed in her journey and became somebody who wanted to give back, somebody with talent and art and lifting that vibration. I noticed right away she was the type of person when she was scared, she would whistle, raise her vibration.
Yeah.
She didn't even know she was doing the right stuff. So I don't know. What do you think about that? What do you think about the whole story? We're almost out of here. Anything you want to finish up with?
It's like she was made for this. This was her heart. This was her spirit. This was who she was. And I feel like that's part of her path, of course, because she was being genuine intention, coming at this with love. She sincerely wanted to help, and that is amazing. She wasn't afraid. She just wanted to help, and that's beautiful. And it's not evil as long as you're not dealing with trickery and things like that, and you have discernment.
Mhm.
You know what you're dealing with.
Mhm.
If it's a true child or a true person who is stuck for whatever reason, or hasn't crossed over for some reason, and they do need help, it's just beautiful. To me, it's beautiful because that's what this is about. That's one reason why we have abilities. It's not just to
Right
help
there with you.
this realm.
That's what we're here to do. This is why you've been given abilities, because we have the innate nature, I believe, to help each other, because we would want help if we needed it, just like she said. And that's the whole reason I do it. That's the whole reason I know Michelle does it. And so many people that I'm affiliated with or in this do it for that reason. Look, I'm all about black t-shirts, and I'm wearing one right now. I'm all about the equipment and the learning and the flirt cameras and all of that. But I want to know what works. I want to know what's going to make that little boy better, help find his parents. I want to know, how to make it so somebody else doesn't suffer from my ignorance. How do I open a portal? How do I close it? Once you send them through, you don't want to leave it open. It's like leaving your front door unlocked, So I know that we didn't cover everything on portals tonight, but that last story was a perfect expression of how to open the portal, how to close it, how to finish everything, go about with intent. If you notice, she left elated. She felt good. whoever was there that showed up to pass to cross over, like the man that was down the street and all that, they crossed over. Now I have a theory on why the matron stayed. That looked like a nun there. Again, you've got different stuff. I think she stayed because not all the children crossed. I think that there was more in the building, more outside, more around, and she wanted to help. I think the type of situation that she was in and how she passed, she was probably saying to herself, I'm not crossing till I get them all. I'll find another one who will listen just like her. I think her job was to look for the light and then guide who was ready to go to that person so they could help cross them. And then she'll probably go in the end. I don't think it was anything. I've heard people describe that she stayed because she had doubt in her faith. I feel like that has nothing to do with it. She stayed because the job was unfinished. What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah, I do have to agree with that. I don't have a lot of knowledge, within this situation itself, other than what you've shown me. But I do have to agree with you there, Cisco. I mean, going from my own perspective, I can see that happening. I can,
And she seemed like she was strong. She seemed like she was, not stoic, but she had a strength about her. She had a leadership about her. The thing she was doing. It was almost like she was talking to that one. It was almost like she was talking to that one woman, and not maybe playing with her to show her like there's nothing to be afraid of. I don't think she was trying to scare her. You see what I mean? She was just showing. You can't hear? She was just showing up. So I think you're losing your sound. So what we're going to do next time is you get headphones. I think headphones will fix it, any kind, because it stops the echo. I don't know if I can do it from this end. I just thought of something I can try. But anyway, I'll look into it. We'll do better next time. I love you. This has been fantastic. Thank you, everybody that's in. I don't want to keep you overtime. We're already over. I hope you got to say everything you want, but I have an offer. Let's continue this next time. I have plenty of vids to show. I think we can get even deeper into this. I'm going to go look into them. You go look into them, and then we can continue it on the next time. Because I think this is a much deeper subject, and I think we can get into it even more. Like I said, I'd like to learn about it too, because I've actually had the experiences. I actually feel like I've almost walked into one or two in my lifetime, and I'd rather not do that. So the more we learn about it, the more we'll know. So knowledge is power. What do you want to say on your way out, Sugar? I love you so much. Thank you for doing this last minute too. You're a blessing to me.
You're so welcome. I just want to say thank you, of course, Cisco, and thank you everyone for being on here, because it's just so important. This is our heart, and it's something that we know this is part of our path as light workers to help bring truth, and that's what this is all about, truth, and help people understand that there is more out there and within. So yeah, I love you.
I love you too, baby. And we're such powerful beings. Look, Michelle and I have been through, rough. We took the hard road. Okay, we chose the hard road because we had to learn quick. We had to learn what pain was, how to get out of pain, how to help others out of pain. We've all been through it. So if you're having a hard time, I'm going to tell you right now. Just laugh your way through it, pull your way through it. See, just get on the path and keep walking, because we're all walking with you. We've all been there. If you to learn something from this, embrace that, because everybody, I think the learning is getting accelerated. I think it is, and I hope you guys can hear me. I know it's getting really bad, so we're just going to get off here. I'm going to play a little Rusty Lily White on the way out. How about a little blues, Michelle? Thank you, my beautiful friend, for being here. And my love to Stephanie. And, we're going to do a couple more shows, and then maybe Michelle and Stephanie come on and do a couple of mini readings for you to show you what they do, because I want you to go over there and sub to their channels and understand what these beautiful souls are doing. And everybody that follows them, again, these are groups of light workers, and we're trying to get all together, because the more light that gathers, the brighter it'll be. I love you all so much. A little blues on the way out from our good friends, the band Rusty Lillywhite. I love you all so much. Good night. Good night, darling. Be well,
Bye.
beautiful spirit. Be well. My love to Steph. Love all around you, golden light, baby doll. Good night, honey.
Well, the moonlight shining on a gravel road, whispers in the dark are speaking low. Got my old boots on and I'm feeling brave, but there's all kinds of spooky shit I gotta say. Rusty gates creak like a ghostly sigh. Shadows dance beneath the midnight sky. You can feel it in your bones when the night grows cold. Stories of the haunted just never get old. There's all kinds of spooky shit out there, from shadows in the trees to the chill in the air. Old legends walk with the spirits of the night. In the back of my mind, yeah, I can feel the fright. Got my lantern lit, gonna chase them away. But there's all kinds of spooky shit and it's here to stay. Crossroads at midnight where the lost souls meet. You can hear them laugh and feel the cold defeat. Whispers of the past, they echo in my mind. Every step I take, I'm leaving comfort behind. Creaking floorboards in this old cabin of mine. Stories of lost lovers and a glass of wine. I hear a howl, could it be the wolves? Or just my heart racing, trying to solve the clues? There's all kinds of spooky shit out there, from shadows in the trees to the chill in the air. Old legends walk with the spirits of the night. In the back of my mind, yeah, I can feel the fright. Got my lantern lit, gonna chase them away. But there's all kinds of spooky shit and it's here to stay. The wind starts howling, the branches sway. Something's lurking just a stone's throw away. In the corner of my eye I see a flickering light. Could it be a ghost or just my own fright? A mist rolls in, covering the ground. I take a deep breath and I look around, but every rustle just brings me back to stories told at dusk and the things that I lack. So if you walk these woods, keep your senses keen. Listen to the whispers, know what they mean. There's magic in the darkness, secrets in the trees, and every haunted shadow carries memories. They say every ghost has a tale to tell of love lost and found, and living in hell. Embrace the fright, 'cause it's part of the deal. Life's too short to run from what you feel. So raise a glass to the chills and the thrill